Hello. Okay, finally. So now what you're seeing is the exorcism site. This is the in the last in the last three live coding session I've been working on this poker hand exercise. Okay, so this is the exercise. If you don't know, exorcism is a site. You can make an account. You can learn a lot of languages. I've chosen Rust. So this is already half an hour up past the proposed starting time, so I won't go into much into the details. So I've made some coding sessions. Typically what I do in these sessions is to go semi unprepared, in the sense of I don't do much work in advance. I don't much do preparation in advance to get an authentic live coding session at the level at I'm which now. I would say I'm maybe a beginner towards medium. I get some understanding of the borrow checker, the basics. I went through the book. Um, I'm not the person to read the book from end to end, and um, I'm actually looking for exercises and things that I can do practically, so I can learn. So this is the way my mind works. Hence, the exercises from exorcism are nice. So what I've done beforehand is just look for Rust fuzzing. It seems that there is a so-called Rust fuzzing authority. I suspect this is a so-called tool repository and things like that that help you with all things fuzzing in Rust. Um, there is Rust. So this seems to be linking to all the things Rust. As you can see, AFLRS is also here. Cargo fuzz. Um, there is some continuous fuzz, Rust fuzzing, some examples, but I think it makes sense, instead of going to some advanced exercises, to go from something that I'm a little bit familiar with. So that's why I've chosen Honggfuzz. So Honggfuzz is Google developed code which was initially written in C++, I think. I've used it to experiment a little bit with fuzzing on some C code to see how it looks like and how it works. Some C++ code. I've installed the dependencies. I'm working with a Debian machine, so I've installed all these dependencies. I also found out that I needed lib LZMA, LZMA dev, and I've created an issue just a few hours ago. So lib LZMA dev is a prerequisite, and that's it. So with these dependencies installed, what you want to do next is cargo install Honggfuzz, and let's assume this is the initial state. So you have cargo install Honggfuzz. In my case, this is already installed, so it will say, okay, this is already installed, there's nothing to do. Yeah, it's a double G. Okay, it's already installed. Use first override. I don't want to do that, it doesn't make any sense for me. And it proceeds in showing an example how to use this fuzzing tool. So what it says, okay, you should use Honggfuzz as a dependency. That's what I have here in my cargo TAML. And then an example, a small example, which basically has a main loop, uses a macro fuzz, and in this main loop you get some the fuzz macro basically takes some data as input and puts it into this closure, and this is the code that you're supposedly fuzzing. So as you can see in this case, it says if data len different than 6, return. If data in q, and so on and so forth. So basically it will go all through these if statements. If the generated input string is 6 U8 I don't know, a slice of 6 U8s, which equal to the characters Q, W, E, R, T, Y. And if that happens, it intentionally panics. So this is simulating a code that it would generate a panic under some particular inputs. So let's look at this code. This is exactly this code here. This code seems so Honggfuzz, the Rust version of this is seems to be supportive for stable, for, as you can see somewhere around here, I'm not sure where it says. Where is it? Yeah, so it's stable, beta nightly. I'm using stable for all sorts of reasons. So in this case, using extern create Honggfuzz to get the macro, and the macro is this fuzz, and it's running this. So the example is then proposing to then cargo hfuzz run example. The example is the name of our binary. For ease of explanations and following the explanations, I've used this exact name for the package, which is example. So the command will work exactly as in those explanations. So hfuzz run example. This is the command that we had. Oh, I dropped some water on my keyboard. So it would run just as it would in the examples, and the effect was to compile our main example, and we'll generate via the Honggfuzz library some instrumentation code that generates all sorts of inputs, and the point is to get some crashes here. So after these crashes are generated, Honggfuzz being let's say it is a tool that looks at the input that it gave, and because it uses code instrumentation, it analyzes which are the code coverage, which are the code paths that were covered by the various inputs that were given. So it tries all sorts of inputs until it manages to activate another code path and another code path and another code path and so on. So this would eventually generate the QWERTY, which would in turn generate the panic, which is the purpose of any, let's say, any fuzzing tool, because it is supposed that if your code crashes, then it is an unhandled error. So we will let this run in the background, and meanwhile we'll go to the poker exercise and see what could be how we could apply this kind of technique into our case. Unfortunately, as a preparation for this, I've run these examples. I managed to crash it after maybe, I don't know, maybe 8 minutes of running. It ended up crashing in a single place, of course, because there is only one place where it crashes. But past that point, run debug example, whatever, this was not working for me. So we will see if that happens. The way exorcism works is that you are being given a skeleton function, one or two, typically just one, and you must make that you must implement the body of that function, or maybe some other functions and structures and things like that, so that you get what is it? Okay, let me be a little bit more in frame. Okay, so that you make some tests that are associated with a code pass. So these are provided by the platform, the exorcism platform. So you have all sorts of tests, and in this case, being a poker game, there is a test that okay, if you're giving various hands, you pick up um, the winner or the winners if there are more of them. So the function that was given as a skeleton was actually this one, winning hands, and this one receives a hands slice of stars, and there is a requirement that this would return an option vec of stars, and those stars should be the exact same ones that were given in the input, not other ones, not reconstructed ones, as they say here, which happen to be identical to the ones that are given in the input. So the format of the input is basically a plain text star, plain text, whatever. UTF-8 encoded. Actually, I'm not sure if it's UTF-8. I think it's Unicode. It doesn't matter. So you just have a star here, and the assumption basically here is that this is a valid input. Whatever hand you receive, you have 5 groups separated by spaces, and on the first position you get a number between 1 and 10, or J for Jack, Q for Queen, K for King, and A for Ace. While at the same time, on the second position you get one of hearts, diamonds, clubs, and spades. So the first letter of those words. So what we could do in our case is to we could fuzz our function to make sure that we're not processing, let's say, let's call them cheating hands of poker, where you have maybe other colors than other suits than those 4, or you have other numbers or strings but those that we mentioned. Maybe you have some kind of things like a 0 or something like that. So this is since the purpose of fuzzing is to find cases where you didn't thought of, what you typically want to do is to just generate something which is accepted as an input, at least on first glance. So in our case, if you get some stir, since that's the only restriction that this function has, if you put it in another slice, then that's your let's say your possible input for the function that you have. Of course, in our case, we have a slice of strs, so we might want to generate an empty slice, a slice with one element or with multiple elements, and each of those elements, which is a stir, could have some kind of I don't know, maybe some kind of junk input, and that would generate some error. So going back to the Honggfuzz example, as you can see here, the input is just a slice of U8. So we could replicate this kind of situation since our code is already in a source lib, and this is a pub function. We could simply fuzz this at the interface level. So we could make our own main binary, our bin, or binary, a plain binary, not a library, that uses the library. And in the main loop of that binary, we would actually use this kind of skeleton where we provide some random input, which we, let's say, we pre-validate as being a possible candidate. So if we generate a plain U8 slice instead of a stir, that would break first of all, the Rust compiler would not accept that as input because this would be a different data type. Second, if it were to accept it, you have to cast it to change it into valid stir. So let's try and do that. So what we can do here is create a main.rs, and I think we need to tell our cargo toml that we want to make this. Okay, so we will say bin, my name, let's just say fuzz, and then just say let's just say fuzz, and we'll rename fuzz, not fox. Okay, and we also want some library. Don't ask me why bin has two square parents, square brackets. I don't know, I find it strange, but that's how it is. Name path, so yeah, I guess name will be poker, and this source lib. And now let's rename this to fuzz.rs. Okay, so we have both of these, and let's just say cargo check. Main function not found in create fuzz. Yes, of course, and there is no such function. Okay, so let's copy from the other example. Template. For now, let's not let's not do anything. So let's see if we got rid of the error that we don't have a main. Okay, so it seems that we do. Okay, I don't care then. Just remove this, uncomment this, put this as a dependency for all, and that's it. And just say no features. Okay, so this should work. Yeah, it started compiling Honggfuzz. Good. Unfortunately, it's not necessary for the library, but for the purpose of the exercise, it's okay. But so what we want now is some kind of way to call our public API. So let's just split this window vertically. So what we care is about our function here. We don't care about anything else. Okay, so let's look at the signature of this. So we have a hand, which is a slice that contains some stars. So what we want, because Fuzz can generate some arbitrary code, the Fuzz markup gives an arbitrary object. See arbitrary crate. So let's look at the arbitrary crate. Arbitrary crate. So this create trait for generating structured data from unstructured data. Okay, construct an arbitrary instance of a type. Permanent need to be combined with the fuzzer. Okay, so we should read the API. Say writing a color of conversion library. Have RGB struct. Take RGB. Deriving arbitrary. Okay, so automatically deriving the arbitrary trait is a recommended way to implement arbitrary type. Okay, but that supposes that I am the implementer. But since in our case we are not, as our input is a slice of stars, we cannot derive that easily. So we have a string. So we could generate a string, and can we generate, do we have also a star? But it doesn't matter. If we have a string, we can just give it as a slice. If we pass here a string, data string, and I think it actually needs a reference to it, or it just gives it. Okay, yeah, now it's unhappy because these are whatever. Let's just do that. Let's see if so this works. So we generate a string here. What about a vec of, yeah, we can have a vec of strings most likely. Just say vec of no, actually we want a slice. Oh, come on, this is stupid. Right. Okay. So now it liked it. This is actually what I was trying to write with the iterator, but yeah, was just one step away from it. Okay, so let's erase that. Cargo, yes, cargo clippy. Maybe it has some suggestions. No, it doesn't. So now in theory, we will generate some arbitrary hands. Actually, there are some arbitrary strings that we turn into stars, and we just call winning hands. And that will, we don't need this to panic. We just need winning hands to panic. So going back to our fuzzing example, cargo hfuzz run, and then the name of the binary. The expectation is that it will most likely crash by going to one of the unwraps. 4 unwraps here, so most likely it will trip in one of these unwraps here. Yeah, so you can see you have 2 unique, so it crashed a lot because the input, it's in no shape or form restricted to be something like just some strings space, no, 2 characters space, 2 characters space, 2 characters space. So this is just some arbitrary star there. So if we stop this, this is expected basically in our case. There is nothing new here. But in some cases we can see this fuzz line 0 unknown. Why? So these were the 2 unique ones, I guess. But I don't know why there isn't any kind of debugging information. Yeah, it was a bad idea to name the binary fuzz because now we have a cargo hfuzz run debug fuzz 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 fuzz. We repeat a lot of things. This is poker fuzz. Okay, so we have already 2 unique crashes. I guess it's a matter of time until it generates some, get some timeouts. So maybe timeouts are happen when the strings are too big or something like that. Let's try to filter those out. So I don't think it's reasonable. Actually, in practice, it makes sense to limit these, but let's do the following. Okay, so let's go in our case and say not example because our binary is called poker fuzz. See what is going on here. Let's try one of them. So let's just say what is it? Fuzzing workspace. Why don't have a hfuzz? Oh, it's not called fuzzing workspace. It's called hfuzz. I wonder why there is this discrepancy. Honggfuzz, and then Sigabot, let's just say star fuzz. Star fuzz. Right? Okay. So now we're getting somewhere. Okay, cool. So we have a backtrace. So it says that Rust panics, so panic whatever, and we're getting somewhere at librs line 128. So let's look at line 128, and it says assert equal card start len, it's -2, it's less or equal to 1. This assert is actually making sure that after the entire string is split in groups separated by spaces, this assert is trying to make sure that the assumption that we have something like 1 digit and then a suit which represents the letter, or 10 in the sense of 1 0 and then a suit, those are the only, and letter J Q K A for Jack, Queen, King and Ace are the only basically the only thing that are in there. So this, if this assert fails, it means that indeed the card, it's one particular group of characters, it's not a valid card because its length is bigger than 3 characters. This is what actually it's saying here. So maybe I would say maybe a nicer thing could be just say len smaller or equal to 3, because that's 3 characters. Okay, so I guess that's correct. So we could say something like, instead of assert, oh, in this case we can't do that because our new function returns self. So we would rather need to return an option or a result. So we can wrap the valid value in the sum case, or in case this is not correct, wrap it in a none. So we can bubble up the error 1 level up, and at that point we could do something like, so let's see, this was called from, where is it, poker card new panic begin font, hand new at lib.rs 187. So if we go to 187, you will see that it has a map which gets a card stir, and that expects a card type to be returned. But if that is interesting, so the hand rank also expects that the input is valid. So I would say that yeah, the assumption is this was correct from the get-go. So maybe a little bit higher. Option, yeah, we're already in the standard library. So here, poker hand new librs 185 here, and then winning hands at line 21. So let's go to line 21. and you can see here, so we have a hand stir, and we're creating from the hand stir a hand rank new. And for this case, I am actually unsure how I would handle this, because if the hand was invalid, then if we return options from the lower level to the higher levels, lower levels to the higher levels, then a none or an error for a result could mean that somebody cheated the poker, so the inputs are invalid. Another way through which we could handle this would be to restrict. This will not eliminate the crashes. This is one thing that is clear. But what we could do is look into each of the hand stirs and filter out the ones that contain other characters than the digits, and faces plus the suits. So once that happens, you could say whatever, that's a whatever, a none or a false or whatever case, and then we can filter those. So the easiest thing would be to have a hand rank changed into hand rank new to change an option. So let's just say option self. Expected in hand rank found option. Yeah, of course you did. Okay, so where is that? So hand rank. We could emit the tuple, and then we can filter yeah, we could emit the tuple, and we could then filter if the second field is none, but that would be ugly. Because then we would need to so then we could emit something like some hand and then none, some hand and then none, but then we would filter those which are none, and afterwards we would unwrap. Actually, we would unwrap without any kind of, or we could say if let. What is sure is that we need to keep the hand stir in here. Together with the hand rank, because otherwise we lose this, we lose the input string stir, sorry, not the string, the stir. So what if maybe there is a map filter or map if. Filter map. Create and integrate with both filters and maps. Okay, cool. The closure must return an option T. Filter map creates an iterator which calls this closure on each element. If the closure returns a sum, then that element is returned. If the closure returns a none, it will try again. Cool. So this is what we want. So we filter map. We said we want filter map, and we say if let sum h equals to hand rank new. So if if we are on the sum variant, then what we want to return is a hamster with an h, but we want to return the sum of that, else we return none, which is the way the filter map works, right? Expected, I think it's there again. Okay, sort equal. Okay, so the sort equal, that should be fine. So hand rank, let's just replace this with hand rank unwrap. No, not there. Gonna check. Yeah. Okay, test. Okay, so now the fuzzer should be a little bit more happier, because now we are going to reject. Are we? I guess we are. So git diff. Yeah, we didn't commit in a long time. So filter map hand rank. So the hand rank could return a sum, but we didn't actually handle the panics. So we just changed the types, which would allow us to return none, but we never return none. And now let's see if we can return none from the new function of hand rank. What we could do now is we can naively say that, oh, maybe I handled that fuzzing issue that we had before. So you could say, we just say clean Honggfuzz. Just remove those and just say cargo Honggfuzz run poker fuzz. This will immediately also crash again, because we didn't change basically anything in the logic. We still have this assert that we will fail, but we just prepared the situation where we could in theory return a none and ignore those invalid hands. So yeah, we already have 2 crashes. Okay, we can stop. And we can run again the debugging session and say, okay, let's see what happened. Still have some poker fuzz issues. So again, leave 189. Let's see. So panic, begin unwind, panicking, poker card new. Leave RS 132. So this is exactly the same line. There is nothing changed here. Frame, select 4. So that's exactly the place where I was looking at. Okay, good. So nice to see that. Wonder if there is a way to integrate this LLDB with VS Studio, Visual Studio Code, but I don't know. Okay, so in our case, we would need to also bubble up from this some option. So it's a option of self, and then we will say if this then we return none, otherwise we return this, but we have to wrap it in a sum. Not csum, but sum. Okay, so card. Oh, yeah, it was card. What? I pressed insert accidentally. Okay, so we return some card and now it's fine. The formatting is a little bit off, so let's fix that. Okay. Okay, let's just say quit. Yes. And now let's cargo check and see where the cards, the new is used. So we need to check if it is a card, and then if it isn't, no, it's if it's a sum, and if it's a none, then we need to pop up the none. Okay, we unwrap basically. No, actually we don't unwrap, we need to use the question mark operator, so it bubbles up the error. So we return an option, then that would be the right thing. Okay. So mismatch types, expected card found option. Of course, we change the type. So what we need is so if we get card new, just say this. Only used in a closure that returns result or option. Cannot use the question mark operator in a closure that return card. The trade of strike. This function returns result or an option, but it does. But I think the problem is the map. Oh, maybe we need some kind of map try or something like that. Okay. So let's just see map. Try map. Map while. Try find. Try fold. Try for each. I try that. Filter map. Why not filter map? See filter map and filter map. Closure margin option T, filter map. This is actually what I wanted. Now that's stupid. And actually what I need to do now is say if cards len differs from 5, because we need to have 5 cards, then we return none. Okay, cargo check. And now we should be in a situation where we actually handle some of the fuzzing cases. So let's clean again the fuzzing info and run poker fuzz. So now when we get something, we say, okay, we bubble up the none, and I guess we should always, so in case either of the hands is invalid, we should always return none. One unique. Okay, I guess we got rid of one. Probably. Okay, so let's see what's the case here. Okay. Any questions? No. Okay, so let's see. Poker fast, panicking, beginning, core, poker winning hands at libRS line 31. So let's just say frame. Oh, come on. Frame select, and this is 6. So in this place we have an unwrap, and this one failed. Winning hands, main and fuzz 19. Yeah, this is line here. So main winning hands, utterly bar is 31. So let's just go to line 31. So poker Honggfuzz winning hands plus 446 libras. Yeah, but I don't know, maybe the unwrap. Maybe the unwrap. Let's do this in steps. So let's just say this is something, and then do some shading. Maxim rank this equals this unwrap. So yes. So this dovetails quite nicely into the fuzzing subject dovetails quite nicely into the property-based testing, because we still get the crash. So because now we're in a situation where we initially assumed that the store that we have is a valid hand, a representation of a hand. So if it isn't, then our program no longer crashes. It returns a none, possibly. But that doesn't guarantee that the so the poker rules say that there is a property that a straight flush would beat anything else except a straight flush of the same rank, right? So if there is a so that's a property of the poker hands, and if you want. So but those are kind of test cases. Another property would be that for any combination of numbers from 1 to 10 plus faces to which suit, one of the letters for suits are attached to it, and groups of such 5 items can be turned into a hand, and that should be without issues. So also another property of the card structure that we have somewhere here implemented, and rank card here. So another property of the card would be a property of the card would be that there is no card of any other rank but 1 to 14. So you get 1 to 10, and then Jack, Queen, King, Ace, which is 14. Which, if it is anywhere outside that boundary, then that's an error. Okay, so let's see what is happening here. Core on mine, winning hand at line Libares, line 35. So which is this one? Okay, so Libares line number 35. Okay, so this is actually this is what I wanted. I didn't know what it was, if it was this unwrap or this unwrap. So let's just say frame select, and which one is it? Winning hand 6, just to make sure. Yeah, that's it. So we would say so what are we doing here? Max and rank. Oh, if there is a maximum, because we have a partial. So if there isn't any, so we could say if let sum max and rank equals, and then we say we don't unwrap here, and we say we visit, we want to return this sum, but we want to have fail. I think that might be an okay result. Yeah, if is missing an else, definitely. Else, none. So if this failable, so if it's failable, then we want to do this. Yes, so let's see if we can cargo check or cargo clip your code. Yeah, let's just run. Okay. So what fuzzing in this case helped us to do is to eliminate any kind of assumption related to the sanity of the input. In this case, there is still one crash. Okay, so let's just say, so the proper way to fix it. So in our case, we went down all through the way through the processing of the stir, and then when that those failed, we would bubble up the none, and from the cards we get to the hand rank, and from the hand rank we will bubble up to the to our function of winning hands, and return none in case of error. That remove the assumption that the input parameter is always correct. The problem is that in practice you don't want to work as much with possibly invalid data. You want to do a quick check, or I don't know, quick validation at the boundary and or the boundary level. So basically you get the API, and at the API you have some parameter, you validate that parameter, and once that is validated, you work with something which is 100% valid. Before the beginning of the function of the winning hands, we say, okay, if its length equals to 1, no, actually no, before anything else we would say, okay, for each of the hands we want to make sure that the stir which it corresponds to is a valid hand, which has 5 groups of number slash face one of the suits, and after that, and only after that, so if that holds true, then we process further. If it doesn't hold true, then we need to just return none. So it's the function is robust, and once that is done, you have no need to pass back from the new as option, self, and so on for the hand rank and so on, because you know for a fact that you have something that must be changeable or at least parsable into a valid hand. Okay, so we have winning hands at line 19, and we have iter tools sorted by librs 2066. Poker winning hands librs 919 here. Okay, so that goes into sorted by actually what we want is, if this is none, we just return none, because otherwise we would go and process further. So I think that's the way to fix this. So remove this and run again. So what we do is, whenever we find something which is not parsable, at that place we break out, well, basically we return early and return none, so we don't pass anything to sorted by that could fail. Now again, okay, let's see what is the issue now. Oh, I think that filter map also return none. I think that, oh yeah, that's equivalent. Is it? No, huh? That's not a closure. Let's see, winning hands, librs frame 26. Let's just say frame select 26. Let iter hands. If let some. Oh, that's a closure. We didn't do anything with the return none. No, let's just do something like we already 3 hours after the start point, but we started late. Yeah, I don't know how I should do this. Maybe I could stop this point here. Check. So what is filter map again? Filter map. If the closure returns some element, then that element is returned. Remove the option automatically. If it's already written option and you want to skip or nonce, much nicer to use. Actually, I think I don't want that. If it len less than, oh no, why do we do that? Less than hands len, then we return none. So that effectively removes any kind of processing, and then say let it equals it dot it sorted by and we what? No method for instruct. Oh, we don't have a length for iterators. Count, right? Count, yes. Count. Okay. Now it should be happy. Now it's not happy because it was moved. Use of moved value. Because it had blah blah blah. Where is it? Here. Quit. Yes. Let's see what the error says. Value moved here. Yeah, we don't want to move here. We want it to say this. I don't find the copy trait. Move occurs because values types to editor filter map which does not implement copy trait. Okay, it clone and then whatever. It clone and then count. And okay. Again. Now this is interesting. Did that other... No, it didn't crash. Wow. What if I... Not sure if I remove those cases, but fine. main. Oh, things changed. So poker winning hands leave RS line 27. Really? Winning hands at leave line 27. Frame select 27. Okay, this is 27. It goes into Honggfuzz, and it should end up in my code in poker. Poker hand new at leave RS 204. Which bubbles up to cards option panic. Here, leave RS line 149. 149. Yeah, of course. Now we have. Oh, we don't want to unwrap. We want to use the question mark operator, because if not, we would want to turn this is a none. Yes, so how do you say now? Remove, and then remove. Oh, it looks better. Looks better. No more crashes. Yay! Fuzzing was successful. Okay. So this is one of the reasons why unwrap is not a good idea in production code. You don't want the software to crash, you just want it to fail gracefully, but that means that you have some kind of notion of fails gracefully, because in the case of poker, I would say if you find somebody cheating or bringing some other cards than poker cards, basically that's an invalid hand. So it's kind of a okay, you're cheating, so you should panic. So we're not in the Wild West, so we don't pull out, we don't draw out guns, but it's something that it's not valid. So if you get some string which is not valid hand, this is what now happens. So in our case, now we managed to fuzz the code in such a way that is robust enough to no longer crash on invalid input. It will just bubble up none, and then says, okay, nobody wins, go fish. Okay, so I guess I can add another terminal. say git add -p. This, actually everything. Let's say if we have anything else, and say git ci -m fuzzed code and removed all crashes, all found crashes, crashes. I expect that at some point there will be a card, it will be a 0 of clubs or something like that. And I'm not sure what happens in that case, but no, actually any kind of number. So okay, I'm actually returning invalid cards here. Okay, so maybe I could add an assert here and say here assert rank greater than 0 and rank is smaller than, oh, don't do that, 15. I guess fast code removal found crashes instead. Yeah, and this would have been this kind of assert is introduced not as a consequence of the fuzzing, because we see for the fact that we have no longer any kind of crashes, but this would be more appropriate for property-based testing. So, oh, finally we have a crash here. Okay, so yeah, so instead of panic, bubble up, none. Okay, we remove this. We should create that, actually that is a branch. It branch fuzzing and we should reset master branch to this commit, because we would want to come back to that baseline when we talk about property-based testing, because it will be a little bit more maybe interesting to see how the code develops out of property-based testing. I think I'm not 100% sure, but it might be, this might be a good path also, so good baseline also. So let's just git tag just say, what do we tag this is, -a poker part 3, and this just say code after live coding session 3 on the poker exercise. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's the right place. Okay, so we can close this. This is no longer creating any kind of crashes apparently. So let's just stop it because it just eats out CPU. So let's go back to this, and after you've seen already some debug sessions here. So what we say here is what was it? Cargo hfuzz run debug. Close, 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 close. It's nice that it generates valid strings because I didn't have to implement arbitrary for those. That's cool. So cargo hfuzz run debug, and then okay, cargo fuzz run debug example, and then hfuzz workspace example.fuzz. Yeah, I think in my attempts initially, before this exercise, I didn't pay attention to the fact that the instructions are incorrect here, and they're saying fuzzing workspace instead of hfuzz. Okay, so where is it? Example main at line 23. So this, so we would say frame select, and it is frame 3. Yeah, so basically it is obvious. We went through all of the, so even though this is randomly generated, because we have some kind of instrumentation of the code, we are able to advance the fuzzing with cases which are more and more appropriate to run through different code paths. So yeah, I guess that is all for today. One final thing which I could do is maybe clone this repository and correct the Honggfuzz RS issues that I found. So streaming. Okay. Okay. This will finish when it will finish. I don't think I have anything else prepared or in any way relevant for this topic. So I guess bye.